Building Raiden Shogun can be complex, but this character deserves to know everything to maximize her DPS and damage. The Queen of Inazuma is here, or the Electro Archon, and the Raiden Shogun showcases unique style, wearing the kimono with the top piece, which seems to be not tucked away quite a lot, so it may symbolize that she's one of the younger gods. The flower on her head represent true love and respect, also represent promises that you will always remember to keep. While Genshin arrived 1 year ago with the beginning of time with Signora, Raiden shows no mercy as she defeats her in one slash, and she got my true love and respect. Her playstyle comes as a support and pretty much destroys everything with her insane burst that lasts for a few seconds. Her E skill unleashes the eye, which stays on the top of the characters even when she's off the field, and procs electro damage every 0.9 seconds, which is coordinated as this makes it easy for applying electro reactions. And when this eye is up, the elemental burst damage is increased. The characters with highest burst cost will benefit more, and she is a good support for this. The main thing to understand about resolve stacks though, the main focus is going to be lighting up the circle, and the way you will be lighting this up is from other characters' elemental bursts, and also when energy particles are received. Generally, you want to use Raiden Burst often as this skill will regenerate energy for all party members, while you do normal and charge attacks with the sword that comes out of Raiden's heart for the 7-second duration. It's very important to understand that the normal, charged, and plunge attacks dealt in this frenzy state is considered burst damage, not normal and charge attack damage, which means Baal's burst won't proc when she's in this state. As for the mode sequence that I played with Raiden though, after she uses the burst, all characters should have their burst up, and once all three spends their elemental burst, Raiden will have her resolve stacked enough to unleash her daily attack as this burst continues to do massive damage. Another way is to have another main DPS and use the burst for Raiden with full resolve stacks to maximize both main DPS full damage potential, and this style of play would be on repeat until all monsters are dead on the field, making her a great support and the main DPS at the same time. So how does Raiden get this damage from? Well, first she comes with energy recharge ascension, and her passive talent gives added energy restoration and also electro damage bonus. So the key is to increase energy recharge, in which takes care of the insane burst cost, also increases damage. How do you balance this with crit rate and crit damage? It's no surprise that crit damage is very important, but her kit revolves around energy recharge, so for Raiden, 3 important stats to emphasize is going to be energy recharge, crit damage, and attack percent, with crit rate being 45 to 60%, and also elemental burst damage. All of these 4 stats will increase her damage, and the main focus is going to be achieving the highest amount of these 4 in the artifacts and weapons. If you notice, my Raiden is using Black Cliff and Deathmatch, and these 2 weapons is highly not advised unless you have artifacts that makes up for energy recharge, especially in the substats, because if I don't use attack percent goblet, I would not be able to use these 2 weapons. I really wanted to use the weapon catch, but unfortunately I did some math, looked at how long it takes for the fish to respawn, and considering the time and effort I have to put into this, and going to other worlds and actually stealing fish, which I don't like to steal unless they grant me their world in exchange, I will give out a welcome moon. But with my current situation and with my current weapons, I had to use artifacts with massive amounts of energy recharge on the substats as well, so this way to build her is highly not advised. I'm only doing this until I get the weapon catch. Her main weapon though takes care of this situation, as this weapon comes with the highest amount of base attack, on top of giving energy recharge main substat, and the weapon effect, which makes it so that you obtain the attack percent that she may be lacking. Emblem set with the 4-piece increased burst damage depending on Raiden's energy recharge, and the weapon, the catch, also comes with energy recharge, along with elemental burst damage increased with crit rate. You're only using Raiden for the burst damage, so this weapon along with 4-piece emblem is the most optimal way you can run your Raiden. Until then, you can opt in for 2-piece Thundering Fury, 2-piece Noblesse, or 2-piece emblem. You can mix and match these 3 with the best substats with attack percent, energy recharge, and crit on them. Equipping her with the main weapon, going for energy recharge sands with electro damage bonus cup and crit rate or crit damage hat along with 4-piece emblem is going to be the best damage output besides the other 5-star weapons that do well with Raiden as well. The catch will do the best out of all 4-star weapons. It's very important to understand that attack percent sands can make your damage higher if you don't have the 4-piece emblem, and since we all have different substats on the artifacts, it's difficult to know how you're going to maximize your Raiden's damage, as there may be some artifacts you don't know about that you have in your disposal which might make your Raiden do more damage depending on these substats, artifacts, and the weapon effect. For my Raiden build, she is level 85, max ascended. The weapon I used are Deathmatch and Blackcliff. These weapons are highly refined and these are Zhongli and Hu Tao weapons. So she is borrowing it until I get the weapon catch, which takes way too long to farm. And the refined weapons giving attack percent bonus from the weapon effect made it so that this Raiden can be competable. But again, don't do what I did and go for the weapon catch unless you have her main weapon. For the artifacts, I went with 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Noblesse with Deathmatch. And this is the attributes. For the weapon Blackcliff, I went with 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece Emblem. And this is the attributes. What I'm going to do with my Raiden is I'm going to equip her with the catch and going to farm for the emblem set, which is going to take some time for me and you. Unless you are ahead, then you are indeed ahead of us. For Raiden's constellation, she is C0. She is 668 for talents. There is absolutely no need to level her normal and charge attacks unless you admire Raiden so much. The main talent focus should be your elemental burst, which may take some time to accumulate the molten moment. And for the constellation, the first one just makes your Raiden get resolved way faster, accumulating way more stacks every time your team uses elemental burst, and the second just makes your attacks do way more damage. Ignoring defense is one of the best ways to increase damage. And the third constellation increases burst damage even more, which makes your Raiden quickly add massive damage to her kid, making her one of the best characters to actually use constellation. But since it costs money to do all this and the gambling art of RNG, I don't advise unless you have the money capacity to do so freely. For most of us, including me, I'm going to keep her at C0 for now, and if you're actually going to go for her signature weapon, I would instead try to make Raiden C3, which she will do greatly with the catch anyways. The key component in building a team around Raiden is going to be based on how much energy your other characters have, and the more the better. Example team comp in the video here is 3 characters with 80 energy cost. You can clearly see the resolve stack is almost stacked. While having 2 characters with 60 energy, it will be quite less. But the most important aspect is actually using the character's burst ability, and amount of time spent without the characters using their burst skill needs to be considered. And so the main emphasis from the start is if your party is able to effectively use the burst as the cooldown is over. However, Raiden will help with this situation, but you might need to tweak it a little bit, and another route you can opt in is actually use another main DPS by your side. In this way, you can have 2 main DPS while Raiden can support and wait for the full resolve stack until you unleash Raiden at your disposal to destroy enemies. Whatever team comp you decide to use, Raiden actually fits into most team comps, and if you're not worrying too much about resolve stacks, then she can fit into any team composition. One thing about Beidou again is that I don't understand why her bursts don't work with Raiden's Q, considering how it's in Q's burst work with Raiden's burst together. Still, with this, Raiden is clearly a desirable character and she'll be a good DPS for all the folks that got her in the disposal. She may have changed the way we think about electro characters, and with another electro character coming up, maybe we might change the way we think about electro characters altogether and actually put them right aside melt and vaporize team comps. But then again, to be able to do all this damage without elemental reaction is intriguing, and with a little help with electrocute and overload might actually put them at the top. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss my upcoming videos, and most importantly, don't forget to softly press like if you have the time. Thanks for watching.